I, however, will emerge to bring you a new campaign. RuinusInsight here, welcoming you to part 1 of a brand new modded Total Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires Expanded campaign. SFO Grimhammer 3 Wood Elves. Now, the hippies were chosen by community vote, but I decided on a modded lord to keep things interesting. The warrior lord of the Winterheart, Sceolan of the Hooked Blade. But before you get hooked, housekeeping. Mod-wise, all mod info's in the description below. Plug-wise, check out our Discord and join the Ruinous host. Consider joining the channel or becoming a Patreon to get access to perks like exclusive votes, or support the channel by purchasing games through our affiliates in the description below. For channel backers, your Warriors of Chaos Chosen campaign will start tomorrow, so keep an eye on Patreon in the Members tab, and for the next community campaign, the vote should now be up over in the Posts tab of the channel for everyone. Big shout out to the modders, and as always, the biggest shout out to you guys for your comments and support. Now, let's take a quick look at this faction. So these are the icy Wood Elves. The Winterheart is a part of Atylwyth that's locked in winter, so naturally we will get bonuses in the frozen climate, as well as access to the lore of ice. Honestly, ice magic alone is going to be so much fun with the Wood Elves, I barely care about anything else. We do, however, get some nice stuff. We get faction-wide replenishment increase, and replenishment is always very important in the, well, throughout the campaign. And a bit of extra weapon strength for Eternal Guard and Dryads, which we care less about, especially as weapon strength is kind of meh for infantry units, especially in low numbers. Otherwise, for Sceolan himself, he gets much cheaper elves with a massive 25% upkeep reduction, but nothing for forest spirits in his own army. He gets a frosty explosion ability centered on himself and melee, and a small range and speed buff for his missile troops. Fairly simple, but yeah, lore of ice. I am excited as heck about that with the Wood Elves. For the setup, as usual, we're going with very hard as I find that to be the sweet spot, and keep in mind that an SFO very hard is now called hard, as the other one doesn't exist. And the AI stats modifier dialed up to the max as always. That's it for me, so let's get to it. Alrighty, here we go. I would welcome you to the Winterheart, but as you can probably see, that's not where we start. In fact, Sceolan starts in the Lost Isles of Atylwyth, all the way in this corner of the map, and certainly a place that I have not had the chance to play around a lot in, even in Immortal Empires Expanded, so I think this will be a pretty fun campaign. For those not familiar with the lore, the Winterheart is a realm of Atylwyth, but it is not, well, it doesn't exist in the Immortal Empires regular map. It is generally south of the Kingsglade-ish. I say ish because, okay, my Wood Elf geography isn't going to be perfect, but anyway, somewhere around here and below Kingsglade, and you can, however, see it in the Old World map instead, but that's not what we're doing here. Anyway, we start on the Lost Isles of Atylwyth, and in fact, it looks like we are to wrest control of the High Elven colonies from the High Elves, which is interesting. Game, you have my attention. Can certainly cut our teeth on this new faction by killing some High Elves. Very briefly, how they play, we have access to the Supercaster Aerial eventually after popping off our first Ritual of Rebirth. The Ritual of Rebirths are, you know, sort of erasing and occupying territories around magical forests until the meter fills up, which gives us the Ritual, which also gives us Amber, which we can use to unlock special Wood Elven technologies, special Wood Elven powerful technologies, I should say. We also have the World Roots, which eventually means we can travel from great tree to great tree and just, well, do stuff all over the map. And keep in mind that every single one of these will have a special landmark location, some of which are very, very good and some of which are less very good. Anyway, I think that's about it for the main stuff, and oh, Courageous Ritual Rebirth to enable campaign victory. Yeah, sure. That'll take a while. Now, real quick before we jump into our first cinematic battle, Sceolan, we've already seen the range and speed buff. And we have the generic upkeep minus 25% for all elf units. Where's, oh, do you not have a special? Oh, it's up here. So you give ambush buffs, significant ambush buffs. You get, War Dancers, Blade Singers, and Wildwood Rangers. That makes sense. Sceolan is a Ranger Lord, and the fact that it buffs Blade Singers, War Dancers, and Rangers, all of which are my favorite units in the roster, is just tops. Lord of Winterheart gives us Eternal Guard buffs, which really does make sense, again, because Winterheart has the most Eternal Guard of the realms, and the physical resistance 20% for the entire army is quite nice, plus frostbite attacks will make... Ooh... We should use Swift Shiver Shards as well. Anyway, and lastly, we have, an increase to the Regiments of Renown numbers. Oh, I love traits like this. So we get, guess, 3 Wraiths of the Frozen Heart and 3 Winterheart Guards. I really enjoyed playing the, another Icy faction, Serena Catrin with her double... Come on, move. With her double Regiments of Renown, and I'm going to very much enjoy this with the triple Regiments of Renown, of at least those two. We also start with a Spell Singer of Ice, a Verdant Sage, which is... Actually, you're going to eventually be turned into a Tech Thief, but I guess we'll level you up until we're ready. And I think the Wood Elves are going to be extremely nasty with the... Ice abilities. Ice Sheet spam into the range capabilities of them is going to be disgusting. For now, though, let's do our first cinematic fight. Sceolan versus Erathond. Not the Erathond, mind you. Let's... Oh, wow, we start with a unit of Stag Knights. That's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting. Okay, they're gonna wreck face. Here we go. Alrighty, here we go. Sceolan on field. That blue cloak of his certainly matches the whole wintry concept, and I do like the full face helm. I really enjoyed that on the Wild Riders and such, and I think it works nicely here. And Dark Elves do have more of a tendency towards the, you know, death masks and sort of stuff that they've got, so I like to see them on the Wood Elves as well. Alrighty, and the Great Stag Knights are going to also be bringing them masks and them stags, which is such a ridiculously strong unit that the enemy is going to have a bad time just with this unit alone, much less everybody else. Sceolan also has 300 range, so he's pretty solid in terms of hitting enemies, but it'll be the Stag Riders, which are going to hit the enemy first, bounding through the trees. We're going to slow down the Illyrian Reavers just as they attempt to escape these stags with that Frost Maiden's Kiss, or is it Ice Maiden's Kiss? Prepare for me to be confusing the two every single time I use the spell for the foreseeable future. We also have the Army Bound ability, Frost Heart? Winter's Heart? I think it's Heart of the Winter, whatever, close enough. That we're going to pop off in the midst of the enemy blobs. They ain't running, and they're certainly taking damage. Sceolan has arrived to lead his Eternal Guard into the fray and will face off against the enemy lord here, while the rest of the enemy lord's army collapses. And it looks like our War Dancers have completely overrun the enemy range units and cut them down within seconds. Not to worry, I mean, it's the first battle. It's impossible to lose the first battle, and it's always very quick. Yeah, again, gotta love those full masks on these guys. And the Stag Knights here alone are going to trash those poor little Illyrian Reavers. They're done. The enemy lord has defeated the enemy army, shatters, and this very first battle is ours. As I was saying, not to worry, plenty more battles to come, so we will see the War Dancers in more action as we go. Alrighty, there we go. 2 losses, unsurprisingly. The Stag Knights alone are such a huge amount of damage. I mean, they got 18k damage, and, well, the regular Eternal Guard barely had a chance to close the distance with the enemies. And keep in mind that the War Dancers are significantly stronger, as they should be, if less numerous, in SFO as compared to vanilla. So it's a pretty nasty little starting army that we have here. But it's really nice to get some Stag stagnates in the very early game. It's just, I love to seeing them prance around and just wreck face all day. Anyway, we're gonna have to take the money. If I recall correctly, let me just see here. If I recall correctly, Dryad Spy enemy hero chance reduction. What is this? Enemy killed in battle. Potion of foolhardiness, terrible. This is gonna cost money. Yeah, it costs money to build the upgrade, and we'll want tier 3 ASAP because, ooh, we can build at least one more Great Stagnite. Although actually, I'm not sure that we can. It depends on whether we start with any capacity of them. As in, if we're already at 1 out of 1, we won't be able to build any. Which would be a shame, but, well, what can you do? On the bright side, though, Wild Riders, if we wanted to. What else do we have here? We could go for the Swift Shiver Shards early, and I feel like that'll work with our theme, basically. We gotta have a nice frozen theme for our main army. I wonder if we could ally with Kislev. That would be nice. Hopefully they don't get wiped out by the time we get over there. Just checking what else we might want to build here, as opposed to possibly saving. I mean, I feel like the Deepwood Camp is an important thing to grab. It's somewhat expensive, mind you, but probably still worth our time. So we'll do that. Although, admittedly, we could just build regular archers and then just upgrade them. The Glade Guard to Swift Shiver Shards, because that's one of the few upgrades that does make sense. Anyway, I guess go for the Glade Guard for now. In theory, we only need to go up to rank 10 in order to get a bunch of Wraiths of the Frozen Heart and Winterheart Guard, which will make up our melee line. Although I think Sceolan's main stack, considering we have reductions to a lot of things and buffs to a lot of things, will be a nice sort of mix of very different kinds of units together. We got speed buffs, we got buffs for War Dancers, Blade Singers, Wildwood Rangers, Eternal Guard, Dryads, and range units on top of that. And it probably couldn't hurt us to have a couple of cav units in there, i.e. 2 Stagnites, but probably not more than that. And maybe we will forego having Forest Spirits in Sceolan's main army? I'll think about it. Anyway, technology, we only have one choice, Morai Heg the Crone, upkeep production for own armies in owned territory. Alright, fair enough. For when we sit there, diplomacy, we only can see Torelithus, who are going to be extremely upset in mere moments. And I believe that's all we can do, so let's end the turn. Alright, Starsand Port is up next. And then Torelithus is obviously going to be the capital. I wonder, does this place... Okay, can I... I was hoping I could mouse over the thing. I want to see whether the rituals is just these 3, and then... Who's up here? I want to say Dark Elves. I think it's Dark Elves. Is this where the... and this is where a Black Ark would have made landfall, maybe? I wonder if I get anything interesting at Gates of Calith. Probably not, because it's a high elf thing, but anyway. It does look cool, though, so just that alone is reason to go over there. Time of Balance, SFO starting thing. I just want to see, yeah, it is the Harbingers of Pain Dark Elves here. Ooh. Any islands around? I see one Sea Corpse here. I see one little island here. No Skull Islands, unfortunately. That would kickstart our campaign real good, but oh well. We've got Forest Calls as a stance. Oh, that's interesting. As long as we maintain high HP, we get a bonus campaign movement range on top of Unyielding Assault, which is actually quite nice. Alright, go to Starsand Port for now. What do we have in terms of defenses here? Basically, close victory, really? Alright, I'm going to auto-resolve this, but I'm going to hope that it doesn't horrifically damage us. More than I'd like, I readily admit, but what can you do? Occupy Heathland. Alright, so what's our healing like? Ugh, not that great. Probably shouldn't have done that. Alright, well, what can you do? You. Now, I was going to say we were going to make you into a tech thief, though I guess then we would need to build the Roots of Gyran as fast as possible. Alright. Kind of early to get a tech thief, but if we... that's what we lucked into with Verdant Sage. It's too bad that the casualty or punishment rate isn't to the main stack, as that would be nice. Alright, so I'm not going to put any points into your stuff, and Sceolan yourself... I mean, I guess we could grab Arrow of Kurnus, but since this appears to be at rank 6, we'll basically want to save all points. But we'll grab Arrow of Kurnus because it's additional little bit of damage. A decent bit at that. Alright, let's build the Deepwood Camp so that we can immediately upgrade to Swift Shiver Shards. And I guess we could build some stuff, though. I hate to waste money on this. I suppose we could build more Glade Guard and transfer them. Hey, you know what, let's go one Glade Guard and a couple of Dryads, and then if there's an extra Lord, we can transfer that to... Oh, and actually, speaking of... Let me see here. Ancient Tree Man. Disrupted, passive, cluster of radiance. Okay, that's not what I want. There's one that has regeneration, if I'm recalling correctly, and that's what I'd like. Ooh, melee defense plus 10 for Deepwood Scouts. That's kind of interesting. Though admittedly, at the same time, you probably want a Glade Lord to lead more of a melee-focused army, and a Lady of the Glade to lead more of a ranged-focused army. Because of the various buffs that they give. I'm not super happy with any of these traits at the current time, though admittedly Murder of Spites is nice for, well, the Mortis Engine effect and the damage resistance and spell resistance. It's not bad. What do we have here? Lure of Ice, so we should Ariel's Chosen magical attacks. It's alright, but nothing crazy. Upgrade production for all units in army is nice. Ooh, speed plus 15, Winds of Magic cost and Wayfarer. That's pretty good. Physical resistance during forest battles. Some decent stuff. Might as well take a look at all of these to see what we have here. Ward save plus 10% in the army. Ooh, Warden of the Weald. Battle healing cap on a Lure of Life. I think this is the one that we have to pick. That's too dang good. Who knows if we get to see that again. And that's just really strong. Yeah, I'm gonna grab Colas here, and you're going to be our secondary lord, and you're just gonna follow Sceolan. Alright, and assign skill points, building upgrades, and then end the turn. And thusly, any extra units won't be wasted, because once we need to, we can simply transfer from Sceolan to Colas's army, and we'll be good to go. And, damn, I wanted to check what number of factions we started with. But oh well. Are you actually coming down here rather than recruiting? Are you insane? Okay, well, good luck with that. Maybe we can try to set up our first ambush. Give it a shot anyway. Use Colas as bait. Alright, so Sceolan, go here. Like this.
Starting out.
And, Are the aspects unlockable, or do we... Are we able to immediately upgrade them? I don't remember. I don't want to waste the money, but... Bonus versus infantry plus 8 at the cost of melee. Armor plus 20. Charge defense at the cost of speed. And speed range increase. Ooh, armor piercing weapon damage plus 8. Generally speaking, I would say, considering the fragility of these guys, I probably prefer the armor. Although at the same time, don't we unlock the aspect of the, I want to say willow? Something that gives us poison, or is it Yewberry? You know, it's a Yewberry infusion. Imbuement poison for all treeman units. Oh, but it's just an augment. It's not an aspect, right? Meaning they all get poison anyway. Huh, interesting. Okay, well then, I'm gonna give this a try. Let's do aspect of the oak for you. Oh, it does immediately work. Oh, that's lovely. Alright, let's double up on that aspect of the oak. Alright, and then we'll transfer them to another army later on. Alrighty, then you are going to try that ambush, like so. Can you move as far? Yes. Go right here. Can't quite go into the trees there, unfortunately. I'm just going to have to do our best. Either it works or it doesn't. Go right there. You go right there. And see if Ingmir attempts to go after us. Do we want to maybe use you to recruit anything else, or do we have enough? Torelithis is relatively poorly defended, but at the same time, the, well, garrisons and SFO, or at the very least, the towers are going to be a lot nastier. We do have the Stag Knights, though. More range units wouldn't go amiss, I'd wager, however. Alright, fine. Much as I hate to use up all of the... Oh, although next turn we could just recruit Swift Shiver Shards, I guess. Yeah. Probably a better use of our money. Alright, let's get a couple more Dryads. I'll make up a battle line for another army. Let's do 2 more, maybe? Alright, I don't want to bankrupt us super early end turn. Ah, wait. Offices. Favor from all buildings. Favor? Is this called favor? Or is it gold? Does it matter? It does not. It absolutely does not. Diplomatic relations with all factions, campaign movement range for Lord's army and ambush success chance, and a little bit of research rate. I mean, I guess we should start with a little bit of research rate. We will... Oh, you need rank 5 anyway. Yeah, alright, fine. Then I guess we'll have to wait anyway. Alright, end the turn then. Let's see if this succeeds. But even if it doesn't, you, Ingmir, might not be able to run far enough away from us. And we might still be able to chase you down and kill you rather than go to besiege the Torels. Although we may also have to besiege it anyway. Oh, okay. So they... Huh. They ignored Sceolan and are attacking Colas, so Sceolan's main stack's coming as a reinforcement. Alright, fair enough. You're gonna die. Alrighty, nature does indeed ordain it. Hopefully it doesn't ordain that you die here, Colas, as you're the only one out here, and, well, we'll see if the enemy cheats and sends their entire army towards you. We got 2 minutes until our main stack arrives. 1 minute and 30 seconds now. And we're just gonna have to keep doing the little floaty dance until they get here. Anyway, let's speed it up, obviously, through that. And it does look like the AI is searching. And it's searching far and wide, not just heading directly, well, actually. 3 units heading directly here, maybe even 4. And now they're all moving suspiciously towards our unit. Definitely suspicious, but oh well. Fortunately, Sceolan has arrived to reinforce, and the enemy is going to start having a bad time rather quickly. There is a unit of enemy High Elven Rangers, but Wood Elves are much better Rangers, and they're going to tear those guys apart, but not before these stags rush through that poor little line of High Elven Archers, which take the full half of their HP and damage to the charge. The regular High Elven Rangers will suffer about a quarter of their HP to ranged fire from the woods before we turn and start cutting them down with a combination of War Dancers and Dryads. Twin Blade on Twin Blade action, though our Twin Blades are significantly stronger than them. Admittedly, in my last couple of runs playing the High Elves, I have actually enjoyed using the High Elven Rangers a fair bit. I actually can't wait to play Tyrion in SFO just to get the super-powered High Elven Rangers, because he has the exalted variants of all the different units, if I recall, and I assume that Rangers are one of them, so that should be pretty fun when we get there. Anyway, in the meantime, High Elven Rangers here, Archers rather, taking a Heart of the Winter, which slows them down and damages them and allows the Eternal Guard to close the distance, and those spears will run their High Elven cousins through. Alright, and in the meantime, we've got the Great Stag Knights who are no longer busy. They've obliterated a unit of Illyrian Reavers. They're up to 112 kills and are going to loop around towards those High Elven Archers. And going to herald the arrival of Sceolan with a nice Frost Maiden's Kiss. And then hello, the point-blank range fire. That was a pretty cool kill before activating his Frosty ability. Damaging the spearman, but then heading away in order to go after the enemy Sea Helm / enemy Lord, who is currently surrounded by the War Dancers with Azray spears and is having a pretty bad time of it. Though 78 melee defense, very solid. Unfortunately for him, the War Dancers' attack is very high. I wonder what SFO has done to Sea Helms, because I was really kind of disappointed in Sea Helms in vanilla, as it seemed like they didn't really serve much of a purpose. Oh, and I wonder if they got additional mounts as options in SFO. Anyway, the Sea Helm is dead, executed by Sceolan and the War Dancers. The other Twin Blade War Dancers closed the distance with a unit of enemy spears, which were doing a little bit of a spear-on-spear against our Eternal Guard before being seen off. And the enemy is doing a pretty good job protecting its last unit of High Elven Archers as we continuously try to charge them with a Great Stag Knights, but the unit, or one of the units, of enemy spears continuously shadows them and prevents us from moving in, or at least did until now. We finally distracted the last of the enemy spears. The great stag knights close and run over and through the poor high elves, while the last of the staunch high elven spears meet even stauncher wood elven spears. And there we go. With that, I do believe the enemy army shatters. Beneath the canopy of the trees, the wood elves destroy their high elven cousins. Alright, there we go. A very nice fight sees Ingmir destroyed, and our losses once again pretty darn minimal. Though, of course, fighting in the trees is obviously a massive advantage for the Wood Elves. We got 1,200 money for this. Yeah, we'll take the money again because, yeah, we need to get at least some of the cash that we've wasted on troops back. Especially if we want to upgrade that tree. I also noticed that our control is dropping. It's not so great. Okay, I'm just gonna have to deal with it. And I see that the high elves rather are recruiting again. A forest spirit, always nice to see. And a war dancer. Hey. Why do you get the war dancer drummer? No, Sceolan, you get the war dancer drummer. What is this? And you know what? Take the forest spirit as well. We can at least spam those. It'll never be as effective as Drika's spamming of the same, but still, I'm sure, pretty good. Anyway, let's go besiege Atylwyth, shall we? Will you run? Will you stay or will you go? You will run. Alright. And I'm going to say Pyrrhic victory, let us... I mean, we probably don't need to waste our time with the siege. I will say we waste our turn sitting here and building up the siege equipment, which will make the auto-resolve rather quick. Or maybe we'll attack. I don't know, I haven't decided. I'll think about it. I am at least mildly interested in the idea of, okay, you know what, you can transfer the dryads to Sceolan, but I'm at least mildly interested in the idea of having the war dancers fight on top of the walls. So certainly there is an argument to be made for doing that. Anyway, you are going to grab Awakening of the Wood. We gotta get to Life Bloom as fast as we possibly can. You will keep holding on to your points until we reach rank 6, and you are to be replaced. Right. We need the place to grow to do that, though. And it does grow fairly slow, though you have a plus 30 growth local province, so we might actually leave you here for a little bit, just to grow the place a bit. Not that it matters over much for the Wood Elves, but, well, we don't have too many ways to make money, so we'll want to build a Sculptor's Cavern and vineyard as fast as possible. Anyway, we're good, yes, so we can skip the end turn, or skip to the end turn, see if these guys pop out and decide to fight us in the field, though I imagine they will not. But they might. I mean, on the one hand, Melundai ran away, on the other hand, this guy fought, so who knows? Who knows what the High Elves are thinking? Nope, they did not sally out. Alright. Alright, you know what? I think we'll fight the siege just for fun. In the future, it's probably one I would auto-resolve, but right now I think it'll be enjoyable enough for us to, well, enjoy it. Upkeep production in own territory as well will be very nice. So let's hit Tor Elthis. Close victory now. Do we need to do anything else? I guess we could get more oaken armor for the dryads. Like so. Yes, it's 500 gold. Wait, what is? What's? Oh, it's 250 for one, 500 for two. I take it that's what it's saying. I'm just gonna assume that's what it's saying. Alrighty. And that keeps them at a very slow 38 speed, though admittedly that just puts them on a level with the Eternal Guard in terms of speed. Can Eternal Guard be upgraded to anything? Wild Riders, eh? And nobody is able to be upgraded to Wildwood Rangers. Sure, kind of interesting, but okay. You are going to attack now. Go. Alrighty, here we go by Ruinous indeed. Let's see what we can do here. Great old log towers moving towards the enemy here. And we're going to launch a quick... Oh, okay, that didn't work. Use the arrows of Ruinous. I was hoping that they would go for the spears, though I do notice that the arrows of Ruinous did damage to the fort tower. Huh. I wonder if we can target the fort tower directly with it. I've never tried. but certainly something to think about. Generally speaking, it's a pretty solid spell to act as counter-artillery, as in use your arrows of Ruinous to knock out enemy artillery pieces before they do too much damage to you, since the Wood Elves don't have artillery of their own. But anyway, we got a ram moving towards the enemy as well, with of course the shielded units of Eternal Guard pushing it. This unit will probably be severely damaged, if not outright destroyed, by the time it gets to the enemy, shield or no. But hopefully it will bring the ram forth, which will open up the gate and allow us to send our stag knights through to demolish the enemy army in the same manner that they've demolished so many high elves already. And yeah, there's probably not going to be a need to have more than two high elves, 2 units of stag knights in Sceolan's army. Alright, and it looks like the enemy is deciding to target Sceolan up there. Going to do the dance to try to avoid at least some of the arrow fire and move in our units of Glade Guard. I'm going to start firing back. There are plenty of range units up there. Oh, I do like the... well, I guess... I mean... I was about to talk about the color scheme, but yeah, these guys are, you know, the green, the yellow, the other green. Pretty Wood Elven-y. Gotta admit. If a little bit too generically Wood Elven, it is also, I don't know, appropriately Wood Elven. I like the red sort of, I want to say Torgavon colors? Vidrioth is another green faction. I'm pretty sure it's Torgavon. That is the red color scheme. I do enjoy that. Anyway, the log towers have arrived and will disgorge their cargo. The Azray spears and the other war dancer units are going to absolutely tear through those poor units of elven archers, though I'm sure the enemy will move in some melee fighters in to try to block us off. And that said, the walls will fall rather quickly, I'd wager. And these spears, while I'm sure we'll be able to hold against the Dryads fairly well, especially these basic Dryads have really low stats, 25-25. They've got that physical resistance to rely upon and the armor, but they're not going to make it through much in the way of the enemy defenses. 59 melee defense on a regular unit of spears compared to the 25-25 on the Dryads. But of course, the Dryads will get much stronger over the course of techs and red line upgrades and all that sort of stuff. So we'll get to see them do much work. Even if, again, Winterheart should probably use less forest spirits than other factions should. I'm actually surprised that the faction doesn't have a sort of limitation to them because, again, lore-wise, the forest spirits are not going to be roused in the sort of wintry territory. But anyway, we've got the gate broken through now, and the great stag knights move on in. We're going to herald their arrival with a nice Frost Maiden's Kiss. Or is it Ice Maiden's Kiss? Whatever. And have these stags prance on through the lines of High Elven archers before bounding over to a ship's company. Getting a little bit of damage in, allowing our Dryads to engage the ship's company, and then bounding right back for more archers and whatever we can find. Spears are now having a pretty bad time. The arrows continue to fall upon them, but the twin blades of the war dancers, I'm sure, much more devastating. And we do have this unit, which has actually been holding for, what, 3 minutes now? Pretty solid against this unit of Dryads. They've only got the 1 kill, so they're not really killing each other very well. We have very low stats on the Dryads, but also very low armor piercing on the Elven Spears. High damage, low melee attack. So these guys are locked in a sort of eternal contest. Or if not quite eternal, at least it's going to be long. Sceolan is unfortunately taking a severe amount of damage, down to 25% of his HP from the enemy towers focusing him down, but frankly, maybe it's okay that they focused him rather than killing off all the Blade Guards, so whatever. All good. Otherwise, the bounce power has already shifted to 90% in our favor. The Great Stag Knights have, well, pretty much defeated everything they've come into contact with. I'm gonna get a nice arrow of Ruinous moving through some High Elven archers. Great Stag Knights will charge these guys, and these guys, of course, are rallied units. But I don't think they'll be rallying again. Frankly, most of them will be impaled upon the Great Stag's horns, and, well, you can't rally if you're dead. There we go. Yeah, I remember just enjoying watching the Great Stag Knights so much when playing as Orion. previously. They're just such a fun unit to watch just run around and kill things. Anyway, the battle is very nearly ours. That Lothran Seaguard unit has been holding out for a long time, whereas the other one, the unshielded one, got obliterated by our Glade Guard. Here, yeah, okay, these guys, these were the ones that I was talking about. They are still holding. Unfortunately for them, the Twin Blades are no longer busy with the other unit of Elven Spears, and as they arrive, they are going to start shredding those poor spears in a way that the Dryads are not otherwise capable of doing. Now, we could argue that damage might be more important on Dryads rather than the Oaken aspect, which gives us additional armor, just because we have, in those armies that are going to use Forest Spirits, access to Treekin, and they're a much, much stronger, more defensive unit. But while we're using these Dryads, I think we'll go for the Oaken aspect, and frankly, I still think the Oaken aspect is probably pretty darn good. Anyway, with that, the battle is ours, the enemy army shatters, and the settlement falls. And it's a nice little siege. I mean, who knows how long it'll be until we get another siege going, right? Right. Alrighty, I think attacking it was the right choice. That was pretty fun. I love those big old log towers of the Wood Elves as well. Don't see those very often, especially as the Wood Elves usually can just, you know, not bother with siege equipment, just spam their range units and deal with it that way. Lovely work, absolutely, from the War Dancers up on those walls, as expected, though I was actually fairly impressed with how long the staunch High Elven spears held, certainly living up to their reputation, both up on the walls and down below. Anyway, we are taking the place for ourselves, so occupy yet another heathland. Like so, got a free earthing rod, a hunting hound, sure, a young stag, seduce units budget. Oh, that'll be useful when eventually we run into Slaanesh. And oh wow, you can, maybe I should have had Colas lead the attack, and then Sceolan could have... Yeah, well, too late now. Oh well. Hey, you sit there. Wait, can you channel? Do we have a channeling stance, or do we... I think we need to be in, like, a main territory in order to channel. Yeah, when's the magic reserve? A bit unfortunate, but what can you do? On the bright side, though... Ooh, on the one hand, we have 10k. On the other hand, we gotta have those Swift Shiver shards. I guess we could send you back to recruit then. You can also grow the place while you're at it. It'll mean not getting as much XP, but it is what it is. Alright, fine. March stance all the way out here to the far place. You'll grab a couple of Swift Shiver shards, although I do wonder, what level, what rank do we need to be? At rank 6 to upgrade? Yeah, you know what, screw that, we'll just build them. And we can upgrade to Hagbane and Starfire instead and put them in a different army. I think that makes more sense. Alrighty. At least this way the regular Glade Guard won't be wasted. I don't think that there's anything else to do. And I don't want to spend any more money. And ooh. Oh. Ah, wait, I was about to say we got wine here, but we don't have wine, alas. Because the port takes the place. Granted, the port is nice, but the wine and port would have been nicer. What do these do? World Route Pathway, income from post-battle loot, sacking settlements, and hello, income from all buildings plus 25% and construction cost reduction. Gotta go with the Foraging Groves. It also gives us... Yeah, I gotta go with the Foraging Groves. Maybe the place will generate a decent amount of money that way. We've also completed the Morai Heg tech. We can grab the Wisdom of the Eagle Lords, but the Wisdom of the Eagle Lords gives us Magical Forest Region Sight, which is actually not that great of a thing, so I think we're going to ignore it for now. Income from Raising versus Armor for Elf Infantry. I'm going to say we'll start with Vol, just because we want... Ooh. Missile resistance versus reload time. Yeah, but I want the armor on our basic infantry, especially since we're going to be using Dryads and Eternal Guard, which are tier 1 and 2 as our main line from the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart and the Winterheart Guard, and I would just prefer them to be a little bit stronger. Alright, otherwise I believe we're good to end the turn once more, and so we shall end it. And we'll quickly grab that island. I assume Melinda will sail away towards the Tower of the Setting Moon, which will most likely have a decent amount of troops available by the time we get to it. And that'll call for another fight before we move on to fighting the Dark Elves afterwards. I wonder if they have more territories than this. And, okay, I saw the ship on the map and I thought that was a black arc, but then it's just Melendi. Also got to keep in mind that we can't really defend our outposts, basically. Especially on the coastlines. Summer Solstice. What does this do for us? Income from all buildings, global recruitment, midsummer sacrifice event, midwinter rights disabled. Okay, sure. Sceolan. I guess head to the Sea Corps now, although... oh, we're so close to upgrading. Wait, 15k. I take it the cost increases every turn because it started at like 11k or 13k or something. It's gone up 2k since then. I actually hate scaling costs. I find it a ridiculous mechanic, but what can you do? SFO seems to enjoy them. Ooh. Hour of Ruinous, Sentry, Fleet of Foot. We should keep an eye on the... Chosen. We should keep an eye on the Waystalkers. I don't dislike the idea of the Hour of Ruinous one, but I feel like there might be a better one. Maybe one that actually increases range firepower. For the Swift Shiver shards that will inevitably be in here. Anyway, go for the Sea Corps, please. See what we've got to pick up. Come on, big money. Salute the carcass. Decisive victory? Well, we ain't gonna get a chance to fight some vampire coast too often, I think, right now, so let's fight him. Alrighty, to battle indeed. Here we go. Gonna start the day attempting to fire off a arrow of Ruinous into the enemy carronades, but apparently the arrows just smash into the hill. Kind of weird. I thought they would go over it, but oh well, not a big deal. Over on the left flank, we have our extremely fast-moving Great Stag Knights and also extremely fast-moving War Dancers with Azray Spears, thanks to their woven mist ability. 40% speed and missile resistance essentially turns them into pretty darn tanky pseudo-cavalry unit. Otherwise, we got our 4 units of Oaken Dryads over on the right flank, hiding within the trees, getting ready to smash into the enemy army. But if the enemy army doesn't want to move forward, attempting to leverage its artillery pieces, I'm perfectly happy with that. The carronades are a direct fire artillery piece and are thus not able to target our main stack, which is going to just lob arrows over the hill, which the carronade cannot do. And all those arrows are going to target the most critical unit, the most threatening unit in the entire enemy army, which is this little pile of depth guard with polearms. Gonna get a few more volleys in. Sceolan's going to get a few arrows off himself before the enemy closes the distance. And we'll join in the melee. Alright, gonna activate that Frosty Explosion ability, and it looks like the Depth Guard are in pretty bad shape, and in the meantime, the rest of our army leaves the forest. The Great Stag Knights obliterate the carronades rapidly. Our Azrai War Dancers head for the zombie pirate gunnery mob, who they will tear to shreds, especially fighting within the trees as they are. Always nice to find some trees at sea to fight the vampire coast. I guess their timbers are being shivered, and since we're not directly targeting the enemy lord with any of our melee units, we're going to switch all of our Glade Guard with their pretty solid accuracy to target the enemy lord. And the Vampire Fleet Admiral drops to 10% of her HP before dropping for good. Lovely. Good use of our time as we've got the rest of our army busy distracting the, well, no longer distracting, I guess I was about to say distracting the range units so they can't fire, but no range units remain. Now it's just a matter of time. And without their lord supporting especially, these zombies begin to crumble. And it looks like the battle is just about ours. Although the sort of, the carronades with all of the, you know, sort of seaweed and whatnot on them look kind of matchy with our units, right? Especially with the dryads and stuff. Go figure. But anyway, obviously Cannons, not so much, but yeah. I mean, you might say winter, maybe not so much as well. But anyway, decisive victory. We are good here. Let's see what we get out of our first island. Come on, either big money or materials. Let's see. Alrighty, there we go. 46 losses this time as the Depth Guard were able to cut down a fair few of our, well, maybe not a fair few, but at least some of our Eternal Guard, and some of the Dryads fell to the zombie pirate deckhand mobs with pole arms. As usual, the Ringers, the War Dancers, and the Great Stag Knights all did fantastic. And I still haven't decided whether I like Sceolan more in range or in melee. He has an explosion, that frost explosion ability, so it makes me think that he's going to be better as a melee lord than a range lord. We'll see. We've got full heal, although with only these 2 units being damaged, I don't think we care that much about it, and I'd rather have the money. I'd also would really love the Winds of Magic Power Reserve, but probably not worth 1200 in the early game. Especially if we want to upgrade that tree to tier 3. Tier tree, I should say. 8,000 money. Alright, well, there's that tier tree. Hollow, please. Like so. And then Colas, you're going to sit here in the fireplace. Grab your Winds of Magic and max it out. And at the same time, recruit some of those Swift Shiver shards. We're going to want... Oh, we don't have enough to... Oh, really? 50 gold short. 50. Damn it. I wanted exactly 4 of these for Sceolan here.
I weave the living forest.
I'll have to once again keep an eye on these guys. I wish it was speed for the army rather than for the lord, but I think that might be obnoxiously overpowered, so, you know, just ignore me. Anyway, Sceolan march stance. And back into Atylwyth, please. You're not on rank 5, are you? Yeah, nowhere near. Is there any way that we can get 50 gold from anybody? Harbingers of Pain. No. They actually don't dislike us all that much. Well, I guess there's precedent. Not with these Wood Elves, but at least the... I mean, they're kind of a completely different culture. But Lorelorn does trade with the Dark Elves, but again, they're not really quite Wood Elves. They're more like... elves that happen to live in woods, if that makes more sense. But anyway, yeah, somewhere between high elves and wood elves. Anyway, skip, and turn. Alrighty, well, I guess we're just gonna have to spend another turn here with Colas and recruit the other Swift Shiver shard. And then in rather short order, as soon as we reach rank 10, we'll have the 4 Swift Shiver shards and then the 6 melee units of the Dryads and the Eternal Guard regiments of Hernan, which will make up our main line. Should be pretty good. Alright, come on now. Alright, we're down to 312. I saw 345 at turn 2 or 3, so this is dropping, well, not insignificantly. Alrighty, construction complete foraging groves, which should hopefully increase our money making, and as soon as the place grows enough, we will get more money making via all of these things. Now it looks like we won't be able to reach this place in a single bound, and probably won't be able to raid. I doubt it. I'll give it a try. We can. Not for much, but, you know, better than nothing. And, oh, it'll still take 2 turns to get to the enemy army. Alright, well, then I think this is probably going to be a good place to call it. Next episode, we wipe out the last remnants of the Atylwyth High Elf faction before moving northward to fight the Harbingers of Pain Dark Elves under Morthoror the Cruel, which will probably have a full stack by then, probably a solid garrison at the Tower of the Rising Sun. And then we're going to have to decide whether we make landfall and try to capture the Dreaming Snarl from the Sartorn, which I believe is surrounded by a bunch of chaos stuff, or whether we go northward instead and go here. Nippon is pretty big, but it doesn't have any of the trees, and we do have to capture these. And this one's relatively close, but then Chaos Corruption. I will think about it. We shall see. Anyway, more Wood Elves to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. All glory to the algorithm, and thanks for watching.